Good evening and welcome to the 2024 edition of Week 6 Pits and Analysis Show from yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and my partner in crime, Austin Williams from Sports Talk with Austin, as we go over our take on what's going on in Week 6. And as title says, our upset's coming. Because this week, I'm not going to lie to you, it's pretty sloppy. It's just it's horse dung, in my opinion. But
Mhm.
does that mean we're going to see a few teams go down? Like in Game of Thrones where they say winter is coming. Well, when there's a sloppy week, upsets are coming. How you doing tonight, good buddy?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, Jackson. I'm looking forward to this. Like you said, it's a sloppy week. But Jackson, I think part of that is because we'll talk about it more next week. But week 7 is going to be like the main dish, like your steak and your baked potato with Ohio State, Oregon. We're going to see a lot of good games next weekend. So this
Ooh,
week they're just like, here, just have this blooming onion, okay? We don't want to give you the good stuff. We're saving that for week 7, which I'm okay with. I'm okay with, but I'm looking forward to it, though. It's always fun to have college football,
yeah, it is. Even if it's on a crappy
especially
week.
yeah, Jackson. I learned to appreciate it after 2020 happened. Never take anything for granted in the world of sports because it could get taken from you in a heartbeat. So I'll watch Alabama Vanderbilt any day of the week, even if that's the only game on. I would prefer not to, but I would. But enough of me yik yakking. They didn't come here to hear this. They came here to hear us pick Jackson. So go ahead,
How
good buddy. What games are we pick? Where are we
I don't
starting?
um I don't think we're going near Texas State Troy or Sam Houston UTEP, but and I don't think
Nah.
we're not going near Jacksonville State, Kansas State. Houston
Ooh.
TCU looks like something.
Houston hung in with Iowa State last week. I know it was on during a time slot when the biggest game was on, Bama, Georgia,
Yep.
but Houston hung in with Iowa State, and many people consider them uh, Iowa State meaning a dark horse, maybe even a favorite now. And TCU, they got a big win over Kansas. I mean, if Houston shows up to play, this could be a competitive game.
Yep.
What are you thinking, Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like it's a TCU 38-17 victory.
I want to see Willie Fritz get a marquee win at Houston, but it's going to take him a minute to get that. I'm going to agree with you. Even if TCU's defense is pitiful, I think Josh Hoover and company should have enough firepower. I'll go 41-21 TCU.
Oh yeah. And we got our friend Rough Rider Returns giving us a greetings. Greetings to you too, Rough Rider Returns, and thank you for tuning in to tonight's edition of the Pits Analysis Show. We appreciate you tuning in, man.
Thank you. Oh, this ought to be fun.
Oh man, we got the Oregon Ducks going up against Michigan State on Fox on Big Ten Friday night. And let me tell you, that's gonna be a good one. It's their first Big Ten home game in the history of in the Big Ten era. I gotta say, I wonder what that's gonna be like for Oregon because you know last week against UCLA, yeah, they had a dominating win, but the final score doesn't indicate everything. It looked kind of sloppy, but I think maybe it's because they're saving their best stuff for Ohio State. It's kind of like playing poker. You don't always show your best. You don't show your hand, and they always say don't make a. You gotta keep a straight face when you're playing poker. I think that's what
Hmm.
Oregon's doing for Ohio State.
Well, Jackson, this is what makes this game kind of intriguing. Because could this be the look ahead game? You know, I don't think a lot of people are taking this game seriously because they're thinking, oh, Oregon's just going to roll. Michigan State, they're kind of rebuilding. They're up on the rise. Jonathan Smith's just trying to get them back to bowl eligibility and try to build them back up again. But Jackson, this could be a game where Oregon sleepwalks through it because they're looking ahead to next Saturday's big time showdown with the Buckeyes. And it's one of those things. If Oregon's not careful, Michigan State, if this game gets to the fourth quarter, Jackson, we could see some upset happen. And I'm not trying to say that like to, like not trying to like say that Oregon should lose this game, but it's almost like one of those like Jackson, you even said it yourself your best. Alabama every year always has that one game, right, where they look really, really bad. And it could be because the week before Tennessee or the week before Auburn, and you're like, what the heck is that? But the problem is Oregon's had a couple of them already this year. So if they come into this with the mindset of, okay, we cannot take these guys lightly, even though we have the Buckeyes waiting for us on the other side, we still got to take them as a threat. But Michigan State's looking at this like if they get to the fourth quarter, this is like house money. We've already done our job. It's going to be interesting.
Yep. And as of right now, I'm going to say it's an Oregon 35-14 victory.
You know what, Jackson? Just for the look ahead, I say Michigan State will play really tough in the first half, and I think the Ducks pull away late. I'll go 34-20 Oregon.
Okay. Well, we got ourselves a really nice game on Fox Sports 1 between the Syracuse Orange and the UNLV Rebels. And, on last week's edition of the Pits Analysis Show, we literally had breaking news during the show about Matthew Sluka leaving UNLV. And they're like, what do we do, Scoob? What do we do? And we see Haj Malik Williams taking over the town in Las Vegas. And that team just steamrolls through Fresno State. Maybe UNLV should join the Pac-12 after all. I mean, you're steamrolling a team that's going to join in 2026.
Jackson, this is one of the more underrated games of the weekend. I think a lot of people are looking forward to this game because, Jackson, coming into the year, both teams were kind of an unknown. Like, especially Syracuse, because with Kyle McCord, and Fran Brown being the brand new head coach at Syracuse, what was that going to be like? Is Syracuse going to be a bowl team? Could they be a dark horse in the ACC? We didn't know. And of course, with UNLV, Jackson, you sung their praises last year, as you well should, with Barry Odom and company. You liked what he had established and what he was bringing to the table. So this is a really interesting game. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this as well. I'm going to be like flipping back and forth on the TV.
Yeah, and if UNLV wins this one, they're really going to be in the conversation of whether they're the leader of the group of five. And, it's either going to be between them or Boise State, because we've seen what Boise State's accomplished with Ashton Jeanty so far this year. And I've already got Boise State UNLV on my radar, when it comes later this month.
And Rough Rider returns to Syracuse baffles me every year. You're not the only one on that, good buddy. Just ask Jackson how many times he has a venting session after they start 6-0 and then lose to Clemson. Those are some legendary stuff right there.
I can tell you right now, that gets irritating real quick. Nice start and then a bad end. It's just like the same plot over and over again. But I mean, now that Dino Babers is out of town, that should be stopped with Fran Brown, but we'll wait and see what happens. I think if Fran Brown can do a great job, if he can get Syracuse to learn from their loss to Stanford, then they're really good to go.
I will say this though, Jackson, just real quick. I like your point on UNLV. You know, they could be the group of 5 representative in CFP new 12 team playoff. I really think they put some string of wins together that have looked really impressive. I know the Kansas win is not looking too hot right now. Hopefully Kansas can get it together so it makes that win look a little better. But if they could beat Syracuse, if Syracuse ends up going 7-5, 8-4, and they win, and UNLV can win the Mountain West, I don't see why not. They shouldn't be over a Memphis or a Tulane, whoever comes out of the American.
And you know that Houston win, unfortunately, isn't really getting everybody excited because they don't have Casey Keenum. Obviously, they don't have Andre Ware, so that's just they're not coming out of retire. Andre Ware's not coming out of retirement.
Yeah, Jackson. Unfortunately for Willie Fritz, he's gonna have some work to do at Houston, but hopefully he gets it done.
Oh yeah. But you know, what's your pick on UNLV Houston, man? Not UNLV Houston, UNLV Syracuse. Sorry, my mind is in 20 different places right now.
It's all good. We all have it. You know, Jackson, I doubted UNLV throughout the year. I picked them. I picked Kansas. I did pick them against Houston. So, and what they showed me last week was pretty darn impressive, putting up 59 points on the team that took Michigan all the way down to the wire in week 1. I like what Syracuse has brought out, too. Both these teams are really good, I think. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised with the results in the end. But you know what, Jackson? I like UNLV in this game. They're riding the hot hand. I think Barry Odom's got this team playing. It's going to be at home. Give me UNLV to get a big-time home win. 27-17, UNLV gets the W.
I think it's going to be a 28-17 victory for UNLV. Because I got to be honest, Matthew who? That's going to be the long question. You know, everybody's going to be like, who was that guy? So
you don't let us down, UNLV. We're picking you. Oh, yes, Jackson. The miracle in Jordan Hare. Everyone remembers. Yep. Oh, I'm jumping ahead.
Nah, it's all right. I mean, Big Noon kickoff looks pretty sloppy this week. I mean, UCLA, Penn State.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Did the ghost of Red Sanders come back to UCLA? And you know, is that why they're putting UCLA Penn State on there? And is the ghost of Joe Paterno coming? Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
Jackson, what did UCLA do to the Big Ten? I know they just got there, but did they try to steal money or something from them? No team deserves this kind of punishment. Good grief. Well, Oregon, and then they're like, here, go to Happy Valley on Big Noon kickoff.
On the athletic department, but it's got to be something.
Golly. But I feel so bad for them players, Jack. For the players, Jackson. Go ahead.
Oh, man. Penn State's just going to be padding stats all over that team. But then again, we thought the same thing. We thought they were going to pad stats all over Bowling Green, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, but I tell you what, Jackson. I feel like UCLA. I feel like is Penn State going to have they showed last week against Illinois and against Bowling Green that there are weaknesses to this team. Like both teams kept it close, but UCLA's just they're in a
Yeah.
big time rebuilding stage. I don't
Yeah,
think this game's gonna be close, Jackson.
didn't Alabama outlaw showing a P Hub? Like they outlawed that. So that's oh man, that's just stuff. I don't think Penn State UCLA is something children should be watching because it's honestly
God.
UCLA's that bad. It's like this is one of those games where you don't need to let the kids watch that game. They're just like, mommy, what are they doing to
No.
that team? They're playing with them.
Yeah. Jackson, I'll go Penn State. I'll go Penn State 38, UCLA 10. I'll be nice to say they give up a late touchdown.
Oh, it's gonna be 14-10 going into halftime by Penn State. That's gonna be one of those famous running up scores, and it's 42-13 Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad. That's so bad. It's like UCLA. Oh man.
Poor UCLA. They don't deserve this.
Well, not the players or the coaching staff, but that dumbass athletic department deserves it. So.
Oh boy.
So
Clint Moses says.
I've got
real
Penn
quick,
State
good buddy.
I better not say it or I'll be canceled. I
Oh
believe
no.
it has something to do with the showers, but that's another time for another day. But
Oh, okay. Back to football.
Yep.
We're only 6 weeks in. We're doing good so far. Let's try not to get canceled tonight. We need to come back Saturday.
So we got the only ranked versus ranked matchup throughout all of Saturday. Missouri, Texas A&M. And so far,
Jackson. Go ahead.
Yeah, so far Missouri has just looked kind of sloppy, and there is a reason why I put Missouri as one of my top 10 overrated teams in the preseason. And A&M was on my I think A&M was on my overrated teams as well. Breakaway 34 says, I'm surprised Mizzou is favorite. I know, Jack. Oh man, that's funny. Is A&M back? I don't see Chase Daniel on that team for Missouri, but
oh no, not the A&M is back. Oh boy. Well,
oh man. Well,
Troy B says was A&M ever there?
Not since 1939 or 1998.
And Clint Moses says roasting A&M never gets old. Well, I will say in their defense, at least now with Mike Elko, they could become a respectable program again, bring prestige and honor back. But go ahead with your point, though, Jackson.
Wonder if they even know what that is. Like, I wonder if Texas even knows what honor is. They probably don't have a whole lot of it.
Goodness. I will say, Jackson, this is one of the more frustrating games I think we're going to pick all of tonight. It's because, Jackson, we've had two sloppy and inconsistent teams. We've all watched Texas A&M. We watched them opening night. I think the whole world did because it was College Game Day was there. It was Riley Leonard versus Mike Elko. The world was talking. And A&M looked okay in that game. They had chances to win it. I wouldn't say that A&M looked bad, but then they stink it up. Then they go on this big run of, I wouldn't say stink it up's a bad word, but they looked good against Florida, but then again, Florida, as you say, Jackson, might be worse than we thought. And then they won the games they were supposed to, right? Won their cupcakes, all that good stuff. And it's like, okay, and people are starting to take A&M seriously. As A&M starting to become a good football team? Could they be a dark horse to win the SEC? And then you got on the flip side of this, Jackson, you got the Missouri Tigers, who was ranked in the preseason top 10, was looking really, really good, but against cupcakes like they were supposed to. And then they play Vanderbilt, and it's kind of like, oh, what's wrong, Missouri? Why are you almost losing to Vanderbilt? It took a doinked field goal in overtime for you to win. So this is kind of a frustrating game to pick because Texas A&M is very, very annoying. But Missouri has also shown they're not the Missouri last year either. This is going to be a really interesting game to pick.
For me, I'm going to go with Texas A&M.
Oh.
In a 31-24 victory at Kyle Field.
Okay. So I've thought about this, Jackson, and I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm going to take the home team on this one. I'm going to go A&M. I think Kyle Field, I think Missouri has shown that they can be beat, and I feel like this is the game. A&M's going to get a big win here. They're going to get a top 10 ranked win, and then people are going to start asking the question, is A&M truly back? Can A&M contend with the big boys in the SEC? I'll go Texas A&M 31-28 in Kyle Field, like you said. I'm going A&M by 3, 31-28.
Well, and then there's your boys going up against SMU on ESPN at 11 a.m. Central Time at the Federal Credit Union Stadium. Take it away.
So this is a really intriguing game because both these teams are really good. I feel like not a lot of people are giving either one kind of credit. And SMU is a lot of people's pick to win the ACC because of the way their schedule lines out. And this is one of the games that a lot of people have circled for SMU, as they should, because we're a really good football team. Even though we didn't play like it last weekend in South Bend, I still do think we're a top 25 team, and I think we have potential to win the ACC as well. But we've also shown that there is weakness to us. If you have a running quarterback, you can beat us. But SMU has also looked sloppy at times as well, Jackson. We all remember the Nevada game, right? That kind of shocked us. Even because remember when everyone was ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater, you even kind of said, let's not do that just quite yet. It's week 0. Wacky things happen. And then they kind of had a slugfest. They lost to BYU. They bench Preston Stone. And then last week, they ran over Florida State, which Florida State is not a very good football team this year. This is going to be a tough one, Jackson.
Oh, yeah. 2024 Florida State is like 2007 Notre Dame. They just kind of felt the same way.
And I would say, Jackson, it's at home. I think the home crowd is going to play a big factor. But I feel like if we just don't commit penalties, clean that up, and just don't turn the ball over 3 times and don't shoot ourselves in the ding-dang foot, I think we should be all right and we could take care of business. But RJ Hampton, Preston Stone, when they're on, they're on. SMU is a very dangerous team. I'm not taking this challenge lightly. That's why, Jackson, I'm gonna lean on the caution side here, but I hope they do too for my sanity, because if we lose a second game in a row and go 0-1 in the ACC, oh boy, Saturday night's not gonna be a fun night. You might see a half-hour ranting session, and then Jackson's gonna have to get the whistle out on me. But Jackson, I'll let you pick first and give your breakdown on it. Go for it. What do you think?
You know, I think I'm gonna chance it with Louisville in a 28-24 victory at home.
Okay, so you're taking us.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about this, Jackson. Something tells me Louisville versus SMU is a battle for potential second spot in the ACC CFP team. I agree. This game will probably go a long way.
I think
And
if
who
Clemson,
plays?
oh, there you
Go
go.
Ahead.
Yeah, I think Troy
Although he
Reed's
could
gonna
rant with me
play.
tonight.
But if Clemson keeps dominating everybody the way they are, if they keep having those 30, 40 point wins, they're pretty much in, no questions asked. The only question is, are we even going to see a third ACC playoff team?
That would be really hard, Jackson. I mean, I would say no. Jackson, I feel like the ACC is going to get one for sure. Two might be pushing it because I feel like the SEC and Big Ten are going to dominate most of it. Because I feel like if we had beaten Notre Dame, you can make a case we went out. Then you can make an argument. But like SMU, their schedule's not as strong. Ours is getting stronger. We would have to win both the Clemson and Miami game. And it would have been nice to. It's a slippery slope, and like Clint even said, Miami's even shown times of being sloppy.
They almost blew it against Virginia Tech last week.
But as for this game, though, Jackson, I don't want to jinx us, but I'm gonna go Louisville too. I'm gonna go Louisville 28-20.
Oh.
I'll pick my boys to win 28-20 at home.
That I don't think you're jinxing them, man. That's horse dung. You're not jinxing them.
It's the picks and analysis curse. It's not the college game day curse. It's the picks and analysis curse.
Well, then we got Purdue, Wisconsin, and I kind of feel like that's going to be a sloppy game. Purdue fired Graham Harrell, and they're going at it with an interim OC. And Wisconsin, we're waiting and see what's happening with them. I mean, they kept it close with USC. They were leading, but then they gave up their double-digit lead and allowed 28 unanswered points against USC last week. And Purdue, my God, they were terrible.
Jackson, at the beginning of the year, I would have said Wisconsin probably by 10 to 14 points. But now that Wisconsin lost Tyler Van Dyke, I don't know who to pick. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's bad. Like, if I'm seriously questioning Wisconsin at home. But that's how bad they've looked, in my opinion.
Honestly, I'm going to say Wisconsin, and it's going to be a 24-10 victory. You're right, Dave Valence.
I think Jack.
They haven't lost to Purdue since 2003. I believe College Game Day went there in 2004 at one point, and Wisconsin won a tight one.
Yeah, Jackson, I agree with you. I think this is going to be a sloppy, ugly game, and many people are going to be like, shield your eyes from it. I'll pick Wisconsin. I'm going to go Wisconsin 23-17. I'll go 23-17 Wisconsin.
There you go.
I think home field advantage should win the day.
Then we got Boston College in Virginia on the ACC network. And
Ooh,
they
kind of a
Boston College,
sleeper game.
they won despite not having Thomas Castellanos last week. And I wonder if we can see Virginia pull off some magic in Charlottesville.
Jackson, look at Virginia with only one loss. I mean, look at them. Tony Elliott's got them going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that, Jackson? Are you liking what you're seeing from them, or you need to see some more?
I would like to see a little bit more, but it's looking pretty good over in Charlottesville.
I will say, Jackson, this game is kind of one of those. I feel like last year, even 2 years ago, we would have been laughing at this game. Like, why are we talking about it? But Jackson, this is a nice little interesting game. I feel like both teams are on the uptrend. Both coaches, I think, finally found their homes. This is a nice little game. Who's the favorite, Jackson, in this game?
It says on
by
the
how many?
spread that Virginia is the 1-point favorite, but
Okay.
your guess
So
is
even
good as
Vegas is
mine on who can win this one.
So Jackson, even Vegas is telling us it's a coin flip. And Dave Walensky says, I like Virginia to win.
Yeah, Dave Walensky likes old Virginia.
Likes them to win 8 games, and this is one of them. I like the confidence, Dave. I mean, Virginia football used to be a really, really good team. Like, they went to the ACC title game not that long ago, and they were in the Orange Bowl against Florida in 2020, I believe. Either 2019 or 2020. So it hasn't been the on-go. They were a program that was legit within the conference. You know what, Jackson? I like what Bill O'Brien's bringing out.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go Boston College. I'll go BC in a 30-24 win. BC wins 30-24.
I think it's going to be more like a 21-20 victory for Boston College.
Oh, here we go. This is the gotta have it game for North Carolina. Go ahead, introduce it.
It doesn't matter what happens in this game. This is the last season of Matt Brown. It's not a matter of if, but when the second stint of Matt Brown ends. Because honestly, North Carolina's defense has just been utter horse dung, especially when they allowed a 21-point comeback against Duke when they were shutting them out. You were shutting them out. Like, really? You're leading 20-0. You're supposed to be ass blasting them. But you couldn't do that. Couldn't do that. And you allowed 7 points against James Madison. So you're really going to tell me this is a team going in the right direction? Because it's not. As for Pittsburgh, they've been really impressive this year. And I mean, of course, they got those comebacks against Cincinnati and West Virginia. I just wonder what they can do on the road this year. Honestly, I think people aren't paying attention to Pitt enough. I mean, I know people are talking about, oh, Duke's unbeaten, but I don't ever hear people talking about Pittsburgh being unbeaten. What do you think, Austin?
Well, here's the thing, too, Jackson. You want to know why the reason that is? It's because of the bad season Pitt had last year. Remember? When everyone was ready to fire Narduzzi. You remember those talks, Jackson, that we saw through the discords of live chats and through Twitter and social media? They were like, it's time for Narduzzi to go. And people, and I even was one of them, and I believe you were on this train too with me, Jackson, like, he had one bad year. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, as you like to say.
Oh, and yeah, because
I feel like that. Go ahead.
So, yeah, I was going to say, like, because all those people saying Pat Narduzzi needs to go, they were huffing they were huffing too much paint thinner. They were sniffing too much of that crap.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was like, and I think that's a lot of reason why no one's really paying attention to Pitt. But this is what Pitt does, Jackson. They have a bad year, and then they bounce back and have a really, really good year, and then they have like a decent year the next year. It's what Narduzzi's done in his time at Pitt. So this doesn't shock me. I'm glad he got it turned around because I like him as a head coach. I think he gets his players to play for him. But like you said, Jackson, the Mack Brown era in North Carolina could all but be over. But here's the thing, Jackson. If they win this game Saturday, it might just be enough to save his butt.
Yup. And for me, I'm going to take my chances and go with a road victory for Pitt and say, it feels like it's going to be another comeback in the making. I mean, North Carolina, they're what? They're going to be leading 31-14 or something like that. And everybody's going to cheer for them. They're finally going to win one. They're finally going to win one. Now, Pittsburgh's going to come back. North Carolina's going to piss away like they have been in their past 2 games. I mean, they almost lost to Minnesota week 1, for God's sakes. Only reason why they lost, missed field goal. That's it. I mean, they're one good field goal away from being 2-3. And Pittsburgh,
Yes.
they're the comeback kids. And I think they're going to make another comeback again. And this year's North Carolina team kind of reminds me of the 2011 Texas A&M team. Because if anybody knows why, well, it's because like Texas A&M in 2011, they were always leading with the exception of Oklahoma in 2011, they were always leading in the halftime. They pissed away against Oklahoma State. They blow it against Arkansas. They shotgun themselves in the foot against Missouri. They blow it against K-State, and they shoot their shot and they miss it against Texas. They lose. They did not play good enough defense against Texas. So point being, North Carolina is the same way. They're just blowing it all over the place. And as for Pitt, they're making comebacks all over the place. What do you think about this game, Austin? Who are you picking?
For my pick, Jackson, I really hope Mack Brown can get to 7-5, 8-4, just so he can end out on a high note. Say he won 8 games his final year, but unfortunately, good buddy, North Carolina is trending in the wrong direction, and I feel like it's because of their quarterback play. I'm gonna go Pitt to get a big time road win in Chapel Hill, and they won't pay back for last year. I'll go Pitt 34-28.
Yep. Well, there we got a little bit of Wake Forest, North Carolina State. Oh,
Bad and bad.
Oh, you want to see a little Pop-Tart, Troy V? Well, here you go. We got Pop-Tart for you. Boom. Boom. That's all you get until after dark. So,
we can't be stealing after dark stuff. We get copyrighted around here.
Yep, that's a no-no. So, we got North Carolina State, Wake Forest. Did we see North Carolina State getting cursed by the CW, or is that a no?
Jackson, this is a bad game. Like, these are 2 teams that are like generally bad. Like, NC State is not.
Wake Forest lost due to a doink against Louisiana Lafayette last week.
Oh my gosh! And Dave Valinsky says the best that the ACC has to offer. I hope not. If this is the best we have to offer, we're screwed. Like, you can forget even getting 1 team in the playoff. Like, the committee will find a way to keep the ACC champion out. Holy crap! If this is the best we have to offer,
that's pitiful.
Like, Jackson, if this is the best we have to offer, pray for us. Oh my gosh. Oh, like, Jackson, I don't know who to pick. It's bad and bad. Oh my gosh!
Bad and
You know what,
badder.
Jackson? You pick first, please.
Eh, you know what? I'll make it easier for you. I'll go Wake Forest, 24-21.
You know what, Jackson? Just because you said that, I'll go NC State just so we're different. So someone can actually win this week. I'll go NC State 27-20.
Oh man.
Somebody's going to get a point this week.
But we got something nice to look at. Army and Navy being 4-0 at the same time for the first time since 1945. But we got a really good one with Navy Air Force on CBS, and that's going to be that's always a good one.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking forward to it. Give me Navy in this game, Jackson. On the road. Air Force, after the great start they had last year, then down the stretch they lost it after they got the hype of maybe could they be the group of 5 representative. Give me Navy. I think Navy pulls off a big time win. I'll go 13-10 Navy.
Well, and all those Troy Calhoun teams are weird as hell. I mean, but Navy's looking pretty good. And I'm going to say Navy wins this one 28-13.
Oh, you're going high scoring.
Mhm.
Normally these are like the triple option games. It's like the run game central.
Mhm. Yeah, I think Navy's going to get some points going.
Should be interesting.
Oh, then we got the Big Ten game of the week on CBS between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Let me tell you that's going to be fun. And I was thinking about what Corey Brada and Pat Murphy from Buttnuts 247 were talking about on Hawkeyes Live at the Voice of College Football. We're talking about where it's like Ohio State's focusing all their efforts on Caleb Johnson, that the Buckeyes are in trouble because then Iowa can take advantage right then and there.
Yeah. Jackson, I feel like we're at the point, it's like, it's weird saying it, but Iowa has a decent offense now.
I know,
Their
right?
offense can score.
Oof, yeah. And I'm not saying it's going to happen because I don't see it happening. But if Iowa was to upset Ohio State in Columbus, it would be the first time since 1991 that it happened. I mean, I don't see it happening. I mean, agreed. They still can't pass. But if they can learn how to pass, they're really going to be good to go.
I mean, Iowa's offense is decent. I wouldn't say that they're not a terrible offense like Jackson, like we've seen the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years. Like, their offense is somewhat competent, but now they don't have their defense, Jackson, is slipping a little bit. Like, they gave up over 20 plus points to Troy. You know, they gave up 20 to Iowa State. It's kind of like is the defense slipping now because it's like, okay, maybe the offense could keep us in games once again. It's a little concerning. That's what makes this concerning. Ohio State, Jackson, they're loaded as always, and this will be their first like real test within the Big Ten because they played cupcakes so far. They've kind of like in Jackson, and I know you could go on a ranting session about that cupcake sketch,
Mhm.
but we don't got time for all that tonight.
True.
We'll save that for another time. But I will say, Jackson, the key to this game is going to come down to, can Iowa's defense slow down the Buckeyes? Not stop them, but slow them down. And can their offense show up just a little bit so they could somehow keep this thing close and maybe pull off an upset. I just don't see it. I think Ohio State, they could have a look ahead as well, like Oregon, but I just don't see it. I think both teams are going to try to get this thing over with, rest the starters. I'll go 35-17 Buckeyes. Ohio State wins.
I honestly feel like this could be a little sloppy for the Buckeyes to start off the first half, but then they're really going to get that passing game going in the second half. I mean, I would hate to be that Iowa defense going against Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka. Like, good God, that's
Yeah.
going to be rough. I think it's going to be the Buckeyes in a dominant second half victory, 31-14.
And this next game, Jackson, could be really interesting. What Ole Miss are we going to get?
Who knows? It's like I had my hopes up when I was hearing "cut" from Sean Madonna. I was like, yes, we're gonna see another exciting moment from Jackson Dart. Nope. No, he didn't.
Jackson, what happened to Ole Miss? Like, Jackson, I feel like them losing Quinshawn Junkins, obviously that's a massive piece gone. But Jackson, did you feel like Ole Miss is relying too much on Jackson Dart? Like, they don't have a run game. Like, they're not showing a semblance of a run game to scare the defenses anymore.
Terrible.
Okay, so it's not just me. Okay. So I just get the sense when I watch Ole Miss, like, I feel like they don't scare me like they did last year because they have no run game. Their run game's not good. Like, Jackson Dart and that receiving core is talented as all get out. Like, Ole Miss can pass like no one else can, but they have no run game to scare the defense, like to threaten them. Like, because like if you load the box, it's like they're like, okay, like go ahead, try to run it. We don't care. Now defenses are just basically playing back and playing the Tampa 2, playing the cover 3 like zone, like just basically saying you can run the ball, but you're not going to pass on us because you can't beat us running. But I will say though, Jackson, South Carolina on the other hand, looking pretty good.
Oh,
Jackson, were they another team maybe just the week 1 jitters, after that sloppy Old Dominion win? Jackson, are they a team that we maybe judged too quick?
I think we're going to find out real quick after they play Ole Miss on Saturday. I mean, they came up short against LSU. They blew it against LSU, unfortunately. But they did smack Kentucky's. They basically got out the belt and spanked Kentucky while Sean Madonna was in the room watching that game, commenting on it. It was like,
yeah.
Well, Greg McElroy, it looks like they're getting the belt out. What do you want to do? Like, nope.
And here's the thing, too, Jackson. Has Shane Beamer, has he possibly saving his job as we speak with the keeping it close with LSU, almost winning, spanking Kentucky? Is he putting a resume together to save his job?
I think honestly he was gonna be like, unless they went 5-7 or they're going 5-7 or worse. I really think Shane Beamer's doing fine over in Columbia, South Carolina. But
so you think that was a lot of chitter chatter?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I don't think they're going to be winning an SEC title or anything. I mean, that's not happening.
No.
But if
I don't think that's the
Carolina,
expectation.
If South Carolina learns from what Virginia Tech, if they do what Virginia Tech did in the 90s and they're like, everybody says we should fire Frank Beamer, but I'm not going to do what everybody would say. I want stability. And guess what? It paid off for him because we saw what happened in the last 10 years of the Big East. How it worked out for Virginia Tech. We saw how they were when they first joined the ACC. They dominated the holy crap out of that conference. Winning conference title year after year with the exception of a couple of years. Even when they had like 4 losses in 2008. I think the same thing. Like, I don't think we'll be necessarily seeing SEC titles at Columbia, but could we see them in the playoffs for years and years to come if they're keeping Shane Beamer? Absolutely. I really and truly believe that. But I think Ole Miss, unfortunately, for South Carolina, it's going to be an Ole Miss victory, 35-24.
Yeah, Jackson, I'm with you. Even though this is a road game, I would hope that was Ole Miss's wake up call. I think they're going to come out hungry. They're not going to take anybody lightly anymore. I'm going to go the Rebels to win 42-24. I think they have a big offensive day. I'm going to take Ole Miss 42-24.
Yeah. But I really like where this is going for the future in Columbia for South Carolina. But we got the 129th edition of the Deep South rivalry between the Auburn Tigers and the Georgia Bulldogs on ABC. Things are not looking good for the Auburn. It's just not.
I will say, Jackson, speaking of playing motivated and fired up, do you think we see the old Georgia Saturday? Because after what happened in your all's game against Alabama, do you think Kirby Smart lit a fire under him and said, you know what? We're not going to have 3 turnovers again. We're not going to play this sloppy. Let's go play Georgia football and get back to that smash mouth defense and punching people in the faces. Like punch them in their mouth, making them fear Georgia again.
Oh, they're going to be mad. No doubt about it. They're going to be mad. They're going to be furious. All of it. I mean, they're not going to play nice.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jackson. This could get ugly. But we have seen in past, Jackson. This is one of them games, Jackson, where we think Auburn is going to get beaten down. What happens, Jackson? I think I've learned when Auburn plays Georgia or Alabama, they always tend to almost win. That's the thing that scares me about picking this game.
It's on the road.
I don't care, Jackson. That's all that much more for Auburn. They both lose, roll tide. and Troy B says Kirby restricted their driver privileges until they start playing better. Oh, that and well.
Yeah.
Jackson, I have a feeling Georgia's going to get ahead by a lot, and then Auburn's going to start storming back to make it seem like they're trying. But I'll go Georgia 38-20.
Yeah. Yeah, Georgia's going to win 42-10 against Auburn.
I have a little more faith in Auburn that they'll play competitive for about maybe a quarter or two, and then Georgia's going to be like, okay, that's enough.
I mean, Auburn could be the best 4-8 team in all college football.
Oh, not this argument again. On to the next game. I don't want to hear this.
There we go. There we got Indiana going to Evanston, Illinois on the Big Ten Network. Could we see upset
this is for
on the Big Ten Network?
If Jackson, Indiana wins, they're going bowling. So this is a big time game for Indiana. But Illinois also needs a big time win at home as well. And like you said, could we see upset? Indiana is due for a bad game, a stinker, so to speak. They are due for one. Do I think it's going to be this game? I think the environment is going to play a role in this, Jackson, because it is on like that lake side. What's the stadium called, Jackson, that they renovated just for them?
They're at Laney and Sharon Martin Stadium.
Okay, it's like on a lakefront. It's like very, very small. Like it's just to get them through this year until the new one's built. And Dave Linsky says they do not want to be looking ahead. It might be a trap game for Indiana. Agreed. Because Jackson, don't they play Nebraska after this game?
Yes.
Okay, so this could get interesting quick. I'll let you pick first since I picked first last couple times.
I've got Indiana winning 24-21 in a close one. Northwestern looks like a trap.
I'll go Indiana 20-14. I think they win a tight one in tight fashion. And then we've got Virginia Tech at Stanford. 3:30 on the ACC network. This should be interesting. Virginia Tech coming off the controversial loss on the road against Miami. And then you got Stanford, who looks to be a very comparable team within their first year of the ACC. And the Pac-12 fans in the chat and Pac-12 fans know out there know how hard it is to go win against the tree in Stanford. And Virginia Tech, they've really got a lot of things. You know, they're currently 2-3. You know, they've lost to Rutgers. They lost to Vandy. I don't know how that happened. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that, believe it or not. Virginia Tech's almost in a do or die situation because we could be looking at a 5-7 Virginia Tech if they're not careful. Because Stanford's not a team to be taken lightly, especially the quarterback wide receiver duo for the Cardinals. They're an elite duo. Like just ask Syracuse about them. Just ask the Pac-12 about them. And although Stanford, their defense is like Dave Valinsky says, maybe a couple years ago I would agree with you on Stanford. Not so much anymore. Stanford is improving. I agree. This isn't the Christian McCaffrey Stanford. I'll give you that. But I will say Stanford is a tough environment. I don't think it's as bad as it once was, but I do still think it is an environment that is not easy to go in and win. But this is a game, you know, for Virginia Tech. And Stanford Stadium will be so empty, zero energy, sucks the life out of both teams. Yeah, I've heard that too. And Jackson, I know you've heard that from quite a few people you've talked to. Like it's one of those stadiums where it's just quiet, and that's what makes it a tough environment to go play at.
Yeah, Virginia Tech, I mean, they blew it against Miami, and that Virginia Tech Miami game, that is a tenacious debate on whether it was interception, touchdown, you name it, but they blew a 10-point lead against them. And as you said, you know, how they lost Vandy, I don't know. But I'm going to go Virginia Tech in a 21-17 victory.
Yeah, and Breakaway says, dang, I hope V-Tech is fired up and not defeated that they were robbed. I hope so too. I hope that they fired themselves up and it's like, okay, let's pick ourselves up off the mat. But I would say be cautious of Stanford. But I'll go Virginia Tech like you, Jackson. I'll go Virginia Tech 35-31. I think they'll win a shootout on the road.
Yeah. But we got some better games for 3 p.m. We got Rutgers going to Nebraska, and we're going to be asking the question whether can Rutgers go unbeaten.
Jackson, at the beginning of the year, I would have looked at this game and said, not thought a word about it because it's Rutgers, Nebraska. I would have been like, bleh. But Jackson, this has turned into a really sneaky Big Ten game, Big Ten conference game. Like both these teams are playing really good football. Like who would have thought Rutgers and Nebraska would be towards the top of the Big Ten almost, with not to the Oregon Ohio State level, obviously, but like towards the middle of the pack and getting better. Like this is a sleeper game. Like I think a lot of people should go out of their way and watch this game. Like I don't think you'll be disappointed. I mean, Rutgers, what Greg Schiano's done, what Matt Rule's bringing out, Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I like what both these programs have got going. I think this is a game that if you get a chance and you have Fox Sports 1, go ahead, flip it on at 4 p.m. or 3 p.m. Central for our friends on Jackson's time. Or 1 p.m. Pacific if you're out on the West Coast for all of our West Coast followers. This is going to be a really fun game. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, and we all love what Dylan Raiola has been doing at Nebraska. And I know people are already comparing him to Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's a pretty huge comparison. I can tell you that right now. And, you know, it just kind of feels like a toss up for me personally.
Mm-hmm. And Jackson, one of the things I love about these type games is I like when we get like when the Nebraska Jackson, who's a blue blood, I love it when they're winning like this. And Rutgers is coming on the way up. I love it, Jackson. It's good for the sport.
Uh-huh.
I no matter who wins this game, it's going to be good for either one. But it's also an important game.
Yep.
So this is very interesting. I'll let you pick first, though, Jackson.
Well, I keep thinking about how unfortunately the kicking game is a disaster for Nebraska. And it's going to catch up to them. It will. It honestly will. They're 82nd and third down conversion rates on defense. But Rutgers is 17th on third down conversion rates on offense. I feel like that can really help them. That can really help the Scarlet Knights get it done at home.
Yeah, their rushing game, Jackson, it's really good. And Clint Moses says the Nebraska pass rush, yes, that's an underrated part of their game. Everyone is focused on their offense and Dylan Raiola. Nebraska's defense has come a long way from what they were under Scott Frost. But go ahead, though, good buddy.
I think I'm going to say it's going to be a Rutgers. It's going to feel like a 24-23 victory over Nebraska. I honestly feel like Nebraska is going to come up short in this game again. And they're going to be, people are going to ask the questions. Has Matt Rule gotten all of the Scott Frost stuff out?
The bad juju, as they like to say.
Yep, I'm afraid so.
Jackson, it's crazy to think, but Rutgers could play a huge factor, and Nebraska too, and who goes to the Big Ten title game, because everything is still on the table. This is a game that could just go a long way in deciding who finishes where in the Big Ten. But I'll go. You know what, Jackson? I'll go Nebraska. I like what Dylan Raiola is doing. I think Nebraska at home, even though they lost to Illinois, I think they're going to find a way to pull this one out. I think Nebraska's front seven is going to stop the rushing attack. I'm going to go 23-20 Nebraska at home.
Oh, yeah. But here's a game that's really a do or die game for both teams. I mean, Oklahoma State, they're not doing so well so far. It's just been a cluster for the Cowboys. And we see West Virginia, they've had a bye week to really think about how things were. All I can say is it's hard to wash Scott Frost stuff out of your mouth. Yep. D wasn't terrible under Frost. It was the offense, and Frost would also find ways to lose. Yeah. But back to West Virginia, Oklahoma State. So I know Joey Foster, shout out to Joey, a very good friend of the Voice College Football and Traveling Fools, and very good friend of ours, of course. He is a go-to, no doubt about that. He's one of smart. He is the Wizard of West Virginia for a reason. And I remember he and I were talking on the day of West Virginia, Kansas. He was not too happy with how West Virginia was playing. And we were talking about how they weren't utilizing Garrett Green correctly until those final two drives in the game against Kansas. You know, we look at Oklahoma State. They were not doing well against Utah, and they were not doing well against K-State last week. And I know Cody Stovall and I were talking last week, talking about Casey Dunn, the OC, whether there needs to be some conversations to be had. It's not going well over in Stillwater. Clint Moses brings up a good point. It's turned into a pressure cooker. Pressure breaks pipes. Agreed. Austin, how are you feeling about this game?
But on the flip side of that, Jackson, as the old saying goes, pressure, you either invest in the diamond that you always thought it was going to be, or it turns into that lump of coal. Well, Jackson, like you said, this is a do or die game for both teams. Their Big 12 hopes still ride on this. There's still an outside chance one of these teams could be playing in December in Texas, in AT&T Stadium. But they got to win this game. Here's my problem. Mike Gundy, do you realize Ollie Gordon's still on your roster, right? He's not hurt. Like, if you just feed Ollie Gordon the ball and just run the ball, you'll do okay. You'll do just fine. But apparently you forgot Ollie Gordon existed, apparently. That's what you're showing us. Like, Jackson, like, does Mike Gundy not know Ollie Gordon is part of this roster still? Unless I missed something, did Ollie Gordon, is he still with Oklahoma State? Did he transfer out or something and I just missed it?
Nope. He's still there.
Then use some Ollie Gordon and try to take some pressure off Alan Bowman. Like, and people are calling for Alan Bowman's head. Like, he needs to stop turning the ball over. I agree. But you know what helped? Having a nice run game. Yeah. And like you said, Garrett Green, well, I feel like, Jackson, West Virginia was one of those teams that maybe was overhyped at the beginning of the year, that maybe we all got a little too excited on. This is a hard one to pick, Jackson. You know what, Jackson? I'm going to put you on the spot first.
All right. Sorry, West Virginia Nation. I feel like it's going to be similar to last year's edition of Oklahoma State, Kansas State, where Oklahoma State wins out of the blue. So it's going to be an Oklahoma State 28-24 victory in Stillwater.
Okay, so it doesn't make my pick feel as bad. I thought you were going to go the other way. I'm
I
going.
wanted to go with
Oka-
West Virginia, but what I know, what I want, and what I know are two totally different things.
So Jackson, I'm going Oklahoma State too. I think they finally use them some Ollie Gordon, take advantage of that West Virginia run defense, and I think Alan Bowman has a nice efficient day because he won't have to throw the ball much. I'll go Oklahoma State at home. Plus, the crowd's going to get rocking because it's a big time pressure cooker Big 12 game. I'll go 31-14 Oklahoma State.
Well, I'm pulling for West Virginia to win this one. I hope they win, but I don't feel like it'll happen. Alabama, they'll beat Vanderbilt 38-10. There. That's my analysis on Alabama Vanderbilt.
34-7 Bama. Well, Jackson, and since and just real quick before we do that, since our good buddy Clint Moses is here, let's talk about the Beavers for just a second. Let's pay some respect to the Beavers. Since our good buddy Clint Moses is here. Clint, if you're listening to us, how do you feel about this game? You think the Beavers should win? Or what are you thinking? Let us know. But Jackson, what do you think? Think the Beavers should get it done?
I don't think the CW curse seems to be getting Oregon State so far, and I don't think it's going to either. So I think it's going to be an Oregon State 31-20 victory.
Exactly, Troy B. Always pay respect to the Beavers, especially Clint Moses. He's been a loyal follower. Mine, Jackson's. He's been here a minute. So whenever we see the Beavers, we'll talk about them.
I don't have a Beaver.
Oh, okay. Beavers stay out in the wild, Dave. But I'll go Oregon State at home, especially their running back, Jackson Jam Griffin. Cool name, by the way. I think Colorado State, they're not as good as they were last year. And their quarterback, Jackson, too much yippity, yep, too. I'll go 34-16 Beavers. Go Oregon State. Prove them wrong.
That's going to be cool. That's a future conference game matchup. That's going to be interesting.
He's going 41-20. Okay, now, Jackson. Now introduce our next game, good buddy.
Yeah, Clemson, Florida State. Florida State stinks like piss.
Agreed. And Jackson, I think they had their one magical season last year with Jordan Travis and company and got their big win over Clemson. But Clemson, I think the road environment will present a little bit of challenge, but Florida State's bad. Like, they're bad. Yeah. But there is breaking news, though, Jackson, that was broken earlier today. Wow. DJU will not play in this game because of his broken finger. Like, that is actual breaking news. So does that change your opinion at all? And Brock Glenn, I think, will be the starter for this game. Does Florida State strike some life in their offense and maybe keeps it competitive, or are they just that bad?
No, Clemson's going to curb stomp them 49-10.
I'll go Clemson too. I say Brock Glenn will strike some life into this offense. And Troy V says, no DJU at SFU will win then. Yep. DJU, from reports that we saw, he's expected to be out 4 to 6 weeks with the broken pinky and thumb. I believe is what they said was broken. I believe that was Pete Thermal who sent out that tweet.
Yep.
So
Hamill.
I'll go 30-13 Clemson. I think Florida State will have a little juice on offense, but not much. Clemson rolls.
Yeah. Clemson's gonna dominate them. Okay, bye, Florida State. We'll see you in 2 weeks from now.
Ooh, our man Ashton Jinsey against
Oh,
the Utah State.
yeah. They'll spank Utah State. Tennessee, Arkansas. Tennessee's gonna be thrashing Arkansas 45-17.
Yeah, Arkansas. This is a big time game, but they'll blow it somehow. Jackson, I can't trust them anymore. And Tennessee's coming off a bye week. I'll go 38-27 Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yes, Jackson. Woo! This is the game right here. I don't
National title.
clear out your Saturday night. Clear out your plans. Cancel your dates. Cancel your dog appointment, cat appointment, your guinea pig appointment. Cancel everything. Because on NBC, and it's going to be on Big Ten Saturday night. Big Ten Saturday night. Okay, I'm done now.
Mhm.
The college football national championship rematch. JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix. Wait, they went to the NFL. Crap. Alex Orji against Will Rogers Jackson. Huh. My excitement went down a little bit.
Michigan's passing game is sloppy, unfortunately. And it's just not looking so hot. But we see that Washington is favored by 2.5. What do you think about this? Because, it's at Husky Stadium.
I think home field advantage. I feel, and Clint Moses' Husky Stadium is sold out. I imagine so because this game's probably been sold out since it was announced after the events that happened last year. Whenever there's a national title rematch or a big game rematch, it always seems to sell out, no matter how bad or good you are. And I'm sure Jackson, was Georgia, Alabama, was that a sellout?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I was thinking so. I know a lot of the big games, they do sell out pretty fast. I'm sure Oregon, Ohio State will probably be a sellout next week too. But I'm getting off in the weeds here. So I think it's because it's what Vegas is, giving Washington the benefit of the home field advantage. But like you said, Michigan's passing game is very sloppy. Like, they don't threaten the defense at all. But their run game with Khalil Mullins can be a little dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
And I will say, Jackson, I feel like this is a game that Washington, I feel like they've had this game circled on their calendar since it was announced. After what happened last year, I know it's a completely new team almost, but I believe there's still one or two players from that national title team last year that are still on this roster, and they felt the sadness, the heartbreak. And I feel like that's going to be a big motivational factor, Jackson. I know they say it's not really, but you lost the biggest game of the year, the biggest stage, the whole world watching. I feel like Washington is going to give them everything they got, every trick play they've got, every special sauce play they got, as I like to call it, Jackson. I think they're going to bring it all out for Michigan. I really do believe that. Because like you said, Jackson, the teams tend to bring the sauce plays out for the big time games. I feel like Washington is going to bring it out. And it's a game that they really need to win after they had a heartbreaking loss to Rutgers. But another thing, Jackson, is the Michigan defense. It's not the same as Washington saw last time either. Will Johnson is back, though. He was a part of the championship team, so he knows how to win this game. But a lot of the defense is young. This is going to be a really interesting tale of the matchup, Jackson. They're two completely different teams. This is interesting.
Yeah. And I honestly feel like Michigan can get it done again on the road. I think it's going to be close.
Let me ask you this, Jackson.
What's that?
Before you make your pick, let me ask you this. I want to get your opinion. Do you think Husky Stadium is going to play a factor in this game for Alex Orji? Because he's been at home this whole time. He's had the home field advantage. Do you think he'll be able to handle the pressure of Husky Stadium? Do you think that might play an outcome on who wins this game?
I think he can do just enough, and I think Khalil Mullen's going to bail him out. I think it's going to be.
Okay. So you don't think the road environment? Oh, hold on, good buddy. You don't think the road environment could get to him, or do you think the run game, like you said, should calm it down?
I think it should calm it down. Michigan's going to win 21-17.
Okay. You know what, Jackson? I'm going to go upset.
Okay.
I'm going Washington. I feel like they've got revenge on their mind, and I feel like Michigan has been begging to get beat again. They're vulnerable. They're not the same Michigan. I'm going to go Washington to win 24-21 in Husky Stadium. I think they get their revenge. I'm going to go 24-21 Washington.
There you go. Well, then we got a classic trap game scenario on the Big Ten Network at Huntington Bank Stadium between the Minnesota Golden Gophers and the USC Trojans. Because, I mean, USC is going to be playing Penn State next week at home on CBS. And Minnesota, they really have nothing to lose, really. So this could be one of those games that they could pull off that upset. And, there's been a lot of questions. Is the PJ Fleck era getting tiring over in Minneapolis? That's going to be a huge question there. Dave, if you're still in the chat, let us know what you got. Our friend Dave believes it's going to be a 24-21 victory for Minnesota. And we know Miller Moss and the USC Trojans came off a top-notch comeback over Wisconsin. I believe, honestly.
So, real quick, Jackson, I think, honestly, you made a lot of great points. And Dave has the upset, which I saw. Very bold. Jackson, could this be the win that saves PJ Fleck's job?
Honestly, like whether PJ Fleck is staying after 2024, I don't think we really know. Because honestly, it could be he could be staying, he could be getting fired. We don't know. That's a toss-up.
I will say this, Jackson. I know why it's a trap game because USC plays Penn State next weekend in the Coliseum, 3:30 CBS, and Minnesota plays really well at home. Mm-hmm. But I feel like Jackson. I feel like USC. I feel like they got too much talent. I think they'll overwhelm the Gophers, even though that I think it'll be a tough road game. I still think Miller Moss and company should get the job done on the road.
Dave Valansky says PJ needs to beat the top 25 team. Like I said, we need to remember the buyout. It won't happen this year. It'll happen next year.
Oh, that's right. I got to take into account the buyouts, but
Mhm.
I'll say USC wins a tight one. I feel like it'll be a tight one. I'll go 24-16 SC.
I'm gonna say 24-21 USC.
Okay, interesting. Baylor, Iowa State, Jackson. Could we? It's in Ames. Never mind.
Iowa State's
Never
gonna
mind.
win. Iowa State's gonna win 35-10. Bye bye. Then we got a good one.
Oh,
UCF and Florida.
Jackson. Talk about what do you, Jackson? I'll let you go on this one because Jackson, I need you to bring out your energy because Jackson, you love these type. You think Florida should be playing these games all the time.
Oh hell
Because
yeah!
what do you always tell me?
They
This
should be
is
playing
good for
in
the
every.
sport.
Yeah, because it is. Like I think Florida should be playing Central Florida for a home and home at least once. Like doing like home and home 2 years every 10 years, or they should be playing them 4 times every 10 years. I think Florida State should do the same thing, and I think Miami should do the same thing. But the thing I got for Central Florida is how they do as a favorite. They always fall apart when they're a huge favorite. Case in point,
Mm-hmm.
Colorado. When they're a huge underdog, they do very well. When no one even talks about them, they do very well. Like when we talk about it, it really doesn't have much of an effect. But when we hear like ESPN, CBS, Fox, NBC, on 3247 talking about Central Florida, if we hear literally everyone talking about, oh yeah, Central Florida's team to beat in the Big 12, they don't do so well. It's not even so much Central Florida, but it's just Gus Malzahn led teams. We saw it throughout Auburn. We have been seeing this throughout Central Florida. And we know how Florida is. They are just meh. They're ready to throw Billy Napier out the door. And that's what we're probably going to hear. Central Florida is 3-point favorite in this one. And
yeah. Well, and the thing too is, Jackson, is this is a rivalry game that's underrated in the annals of time, Jackson. I know everyone likes the Miami, Florida, but Jackson, not enough people talk about how this is kind of an underrated rivalry because as much as Florida wants to beat Miami, UCF and Florida, they both want to win this game just as much as the Miami game. Not a lot of people talk about that. This is an underrated rivalry. And I feel like Jackson, like you said, the talk is going to be, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, these schools have only played each other 3 times, 1999, 2006. And the last time they played each other was in the Gasparilla Bowl in 2021, where Central Florida.
But that's the thing, though, Jack. That's the thing, though, Jackson. It's the fact that they're both Florida. And what do we always talk about, Jackson, with Alabama, Auburn? It's state pride. Like when Murray State plays Kentucky or plays Louisville, they may not play us a lot, but they still want to beat us for state pride. They take pride in winning their state. And that's what makes this an underrated rivalry, quote unquote, or a rivalry. And a lot of people, like Florida and UCF fans, both consider this a rivalry. And I had a discussion with Locked On Gators, Brandon Olson, when we were reviewing Florida for the upcoming from last year. And he talked about the UCF game coming up this year. And he told me, he was like, I know we've only played 3 times, but I still want to win this game. It's still an important game. And now it's an even more important game, Jackson, because Billy Napier needs this job. Needs to keep his.
Mhm.
He wants to keep his job, and he needs to win this game at home. But like you said, Gus Malzahn, the Jekyll and Hyde of college football.
Yeah. And I think
And Jackson,
Florida's going to
hold
win
on,
this
Jackson.
game.
Is this a night game?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I want to make sure because I couldn't remember if this was a day or night game. Because if it's a night game, that influences my pick. Because Florida at home at night, talk about going to the swamp at night.
Oh,
Just
they'll
ask
win.
Tennessee about that.
Yeah, well, Tennessee never gets it done in Gainesville, so that's a no.
But I will. But I will say, good buddy. I will say, should be interesting. I'll take Florida 31-26. I'll go Gators 31-26 Florida. I think Billy Napier keeps his seat cool for now.
I got Florida winning 28-24.
Okay. Well, we both got them a competitive game. I hope so. It makes for good football. Ooh, an underrated matchup. Duke at Georgia Tech. Go ahead, good buddy. Take it away.
Yeah, Duke's 5-0, but they've had an easy slate thus far. I mean, you beat up on a North Carolina team that's falling apart on defense. That's not really anything to brag about.
And Jackson, don't forget their nice win over Northwestern. Now, I know Northwestern might have turned back into the pumpkin, but it was a road win.
So, yeah, I'm not so sure that's really going to help them, really.
Now, Jackson, do you think we got overhyped on Georgia Tech?
No.
Do you think maybe – so you think, okay, because Jackson, I'm starting of the belief that maybe we pushed them too soon. You know, projecting them to be something they're not just yet. Because they had that quality win over Florida, we thought, right? Florida State. And then Florida State turned out to be, well, let's call it what it is, Jackson, dumpster fire of a team this year. And then they had some nice wins. And then they lost Syracuse. And then they lost to Louisville. And it seems like Jackson – Georgia Tech's a good football team. I think they can win 7-8 games again. But I feel like, Jackson, maybe we pushed them too soon to say they could be a top 15, maybe the dark horse to win the ACC. And I feel like with Duke, like you said, they almost lost to North Carolina, and then they survived UConn. So Duke has had a pretty interesting slate of games. It's at Bobby Dodd Stadium. That's what makes it even more harder because Georgia Tech plays tough at home. But Duke, they're on a roll. They're one win away from bowl eligibility, and Manny Diaz has proven a lot of doubters wrong, Jackson. Because you remember when Miami threw him out and said he was a bad football coach? I think he's starting to prove a lot of them wrong.
Well, let's not get too hasty. I want to see what the rest of his first year is like, and I want to see what at least his second and third year are like.
No, but here's the thing, though, Jackson. As long as they win one more game, they'll be going bowling. And I remember a time when there were some Miami fans that said he couldn't even win 6 games. They were that down on him. So I'm just glad he's got some success. And I kind of think a lot of that has to do, Jackson, because James Franklin rehabilitated him. Because he was the defensive coordinator at Penn State. Do you remember that, Jackson?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I kind of think James Franklin kind of rehabilitated him, kind of showed, okay, he's a good football head coach. He's a good defensive strategist guy. Like, give him another chance, somebody. And Duke is like, we need a head coach. Why not? Couldn't hurt. He can't hurt us any worse. You win 8 games here, we'll send flowers to your house and give you chocolates every Valentine's Day. If we win 8,
Yep.
9 games. But just for that, Jackson, I've talked myself into it. I'm going to talk myself into it. No, I do. I'll jinx them. You know what? I'll do it. I'll go Duke on the road. 34-31. They went on a game-winning field goal. I'll go Duke on the road against Georgia Tech.
I think I'm going to go with Georgia Tech on a 27-24 victory at home at Bobby Dodd Stadium.
Should be interesting. Then we got Kansas and Arizona State in the desert. And Dave Lindsey says Kansas was way overhyped and Arizona State's going to crush them.
I'm guilty
Jackson,
of
look
it.
away.
I'm guilty of it. So it's like, oh, man. I wanted to see
Jackson,
this team do so well, but the injuries, as Jeffrey from Only Talk Sports said, injuries have caught up to Jalen Daniels. I mean, he's right.
Jackson, I believe, not to cut you off, but I believe I mentioned to you a couple times, and I even told you the Kansas offense, it looked putrid, and you were like, let's not be hasty. Jackson, it's not getting any better.
No.
And their defense is falling back to awful.
Yeah. It's terrible. Terrible.
Jackson, I will say this, though, good buddy. I will say this, though. We all make picks we get wrong. But,
Yeah.
Jackson, were we ready to jump on the Kansas bandwagon too early?
Well, I jumped on him too early.
I will say, though, Jackson, Arizona State, their running back Cam Skimboat or Scanboat, I don't know how you say his last name. I like what Arizona State's got going with Kenny Dillingham Jackson. You know, we got to wait and see what they're going to do more of, but you think they can be a bowl team this year, Jackson, in year 2?
It's looking that way. They could pull it off.
I just want to know, Jackson, is this the day that Kansas? Is it possible, Jackson, Kansas goes 4-8? Like, are they going to be that bad?
Oh, jeez. They got to
Poor
fire
Jackson.
They need to fire that idiot offensive coordinator, Jeff Grimes. I mean, he sucks.
Poor Jackson. Like Jackson's been.
Throw him out. Throw that idiot out. He does not know how to be an offensive coordinator. He got fired from Baylor for a reason.
Jackson's been pretty even kill all night, Chad. But now that we're talking about Kansas, he's a little upset now.
Yeah.
Like, this is pushing his button because he put so much faith in them. I understand, Jackson. When you put a faith in a team and they break it, I understand. I put my faith in Auburn this past Saturday, and look where that got me. Thanks, Auburn. I ain't picking you again. But anywho,
it's like
it's okay, Jackson.
I know it's like, oh man, let's get through that game.
Kansas was America's team. They were. A lot of people loved them. And how can you not be romantic about football? I mean, they were the story of last year. And Lance Leopold, I'm like you, Jackson. I wish they wouldn't be this bad right now, that they could have kept the trend going, because it's just like, because Kansas was finally starting to earn some stripes in football, and then they do this. And now everyone's like, oh, they like Jackson, they were starting to earn like a patch, like, oh, maybe we can consider you a basketball and football school. And they're like, nope, we're going to take that away. It's so heartbreaking, so sad. But as for Arizona State, though, I'm glad that they're getting back to their winning ways.
Oh man, they've been impressive.
Mm-hmm. Now, will we see Jaden Daniels, Brandon Ayuk kind of magic with this team anytime soon? Let's slow down. Uh, let's get a couple recruiting cycles in and let's see some winning. But I think the winning continues Saturday, Jackson. Unfortunately, Kansas is going to be 1-5 on Saturday. The Desert's going to get them. I'll go 28 to 16. Arizona State at home.
I think I'm gonna have to go with Arizona State. It's gonna be
just took the wind out of your sail to say that.
28-21.
Great minds think alike. We both had 28 for them.
Oh man, it's like it just feels like it just feels depressing. Now I know how it feels to be like Eeyore.
Well, Jackson, maybe there's a better game we can talk about that'll cheer you up. Hawaii, San Diego State. No. Who wants to talk about that? Oh, yes. Yes. College game day is going to Cal, baby.
I don't
Miami
know
versus
which is even weirder. That Miami, California is even a conference game, or the fact that it's where college game day being in Berkeley. Like, are they having Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit call in Berkeley, or are they gonna have, or is Kirk Herbstreit gonna have to go to Tennessee, Arkansas? Like that's what I'm wondering about this. I mean, Cal. I mean, I know
Look
they
at that
beat
kick
Auburn,
time.
huh?
Look at that kick time. Good. Not to cut you off. Apologies. Apologies, but look at that kick time, good buddy. 10:30 at night. Good grief. Who's going to stay up and watch that?
Me.
Well, yeah, we will. I was about to say we will because we're stupid, but we're stupid and dumb enough that we will. Well, the Vikings Jets, we won't wake up for that. I'm sorry, Jets Vikings. You're doing good, but
no.
But we need our sleep.
You know what? The Vikings have been pretty impressive. Yeah, I could stay up. I could get up early in the morning for them. Be like, not get much sleep. What's sleep exactly? Like, we'll be doing the final whistle. I guess, like, yeah. I mean, like, we'll be doing final whistle late at night. Then I guess I'll get like
we
2
always
hours
do.
sleep for Jets Vikings. Then it's like, no, I don't think I'll be able. No, you know what? We'll figure it out.
And Dave Walensky says, "Are you going to talk about the San Diego State Hawaii game? While their kicker is really bad. He missed 2 chip shots. Be honest with you, I haven't kept track of either team, and I'm being dead serious. Like I saw a little bit of San Diego State against the Beavers. Like that's about all I saw of them, and what I saw, they were pitiful.
Oof.
Cal renovated that stadium, but they would still need 30 Parter and Patties behind the bleachers. Oh, okay. I mean, Jackson, looking at this slate, I could see why they went to Miami Cal. If Washington hadn't lost, they probably would have gone to Washington. But the fact Washington lost, and then we lost to Notre Dame, and it's like you said, a sloppy slate. College game day takes their first ever trip to Cal, which I'm happy for him, Jackson. Like Jackson, I know you may not show it at the moment, but I'm sure you're happy for them that they finally get a game day, college game day. Like they finally can get taken off that list of never have gone.
Yeah. Because I know, like, Mark Rogers, like, he's talked about it a few times where it's like, I don't really care where game day's really going to, where it's just like, because like Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, Ohio State, BYU to a certain extent, they don't really care if game day goes to them or not. But like the schools like the Cows, the Texas Techs, the Oregon States, the Washington States, it does a number for their programs, especially for recruiting. I'll be honest, like I'm
Mhm.
shocked that game day's never been to Maryland. Like that's shocking to me, to be honest.
Oh, what do you think about this, Jackson? From Clint Moses, college game day will skip the Big 12 completely this year. That's a good point.
That
Because
wouldn't
Jackson,
surprise
if
me.
they didn't go to Oklahoma State, Utah,
No.
I mean, they might go to Kansas State, Colorado just to tick people off. I could
No,
see it.
they're not.
Jackson, you don't think they would just to get people riled up?
No,
Come on.
they're gonna go to Texas, Oklahoma next week, or they're probably gonna go to Ohio State, Oregon, something.
I will say though, Jackson, I would love it if they did, because I Colorado. I've adopted them as my second team, so I would love it. I would just be laughing at you, Jackson, because you'd be like, "Really? We have Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Oregon, and you chose Colorado, Kansas State? Why? Why do you hate us?" Oh man, I could see it there.
Well, Colorado
Okay.
still be your second favorite team if Primetime leaves.
Yes, I will still root for them because I do have my grandmother, great grandmother. She's about 90. She loves her some Colorado Buffaloes, so I'll root for them for
Yeah.
her.
Nice.
I'll root for them for her. But to this game though, we're talking about Colorado. They're always the conversation, even when they're not on the schedule. But back to this, Jackson. Like you said, this will do good for Cal's recruiting numbers.
Mhm.
Like they'll see, like they'll be like, "Oh, college game day chose you all. Like, let's go see what Cal's got popping." But as for Miami, Jackson, is there a hangover? Meaning they got away with one. Do they come into this game sleeping, like hungover, like, and then they're like, "Oh, we got to get up and play a really good football team late at night too."
I'm thinking it's gonna be. I'm thinking they could be a little hungover to start off the first half, but then Cam Ward's really gonna get it going. I feel like it's gonna be a Miami 31-14 victory in Berkeley, California.
That's a good point, Jackson. I like Jay Knott. Like, he's a really good back. He's someone that doesn't get talked about much. Jackson, why do I get this sneaky feeling? I got this feeling that this is going to be an upset. Like Jackson, I'm getting Purdue, Ohio State 2018 vibes.
Oh God, don't bring
like,
that
I
up.
really am. I am. I'm getting that type vibe from this game. Like it's almost reminiscent. Like, I feel like they're gonna have like some big story about Cal and Jade Knott about how his mother, or his father, somebody in his family important are gonna be there in attendance, and that's great. I love those kind of stories. I'm not ragging on them, but I'm getting that kind of vibe. You know what, Jackson? Give me Cal to pull off the upset. And Miami's going down on Saturday night. I'm going Cal 27-14. 27-14 Cal. I'm getting very Purdue, Ohio State 2018 vibes. I feel it.
Yeah.
No, revise that score. Revise that score real quick. 27-23 Cal. 27-23 Cal.
I've got 31-14 Miami. Rough Rider returns.
And
Which I wish Cal and Miami could both lose. I actually want to see Miami win their first ACC title this year for like Cam Ward's sake, but I don't know. Like I just want to see them win their first ACC title, or I want to see Louisville win their first ACC title. I mean, we see enough of Clemson, Florida State. Let somebody else win it for a change. So
I hope so, Jackson. That would be nice, but Jackson, but I'm seriously getting upset vibes about this game. Like I really am feeling the upset vibe. Like game day is gonna be there, and I feel like Miami's been playing with fire, and I feel like the football gods are gonna be like, you know what? You got away with one last week. Here's your punishment. You're gonna lose to Cal.
Well.
So give me Cal 27-23. No. Mark it down.
Okay. And we got Big 12 After Dark on Fox between Texas Tech and Arizona. Wondering what Texas Tech can bring. Is Arizona hung over a little bit from their Utah upset?
That's an interesting question, Jackson. Because here's the thing with this. I've been paying attention to this. I feel like, Jackson, Texas Tech, speaking of upsets, they always seem to pull out one upset, just one, somehow or another. They always, under Jerry Maguire, pull off a big one. They almost did to Oregon last year. And I feel like you said, they're coming off the adrenaline of beating Utah on the road as Arizona. Could they let one slip through the crack after losing to Kansas State, which, as we know, that doesn't count for conference play? But Jackson, I'm conflicted because Texas Tech, they're the ugliest 4-1 team I've ever seen.
Yeah. Right now,
like Jackson, like real quick, good buddy, like they are, Jackson, like almost losing to Abilene Christian, needing a goal line stop in like double overtime for the 2-point conversion. Holy moly! And then you got Arizona on the other hand with McMillan and Fafita, and a lot of people are thinking could be a dark horse, and Dave Linsky says, come on, Arizona, prove me right, the Big 12 champ. That's interesting, Dave. I didn't know you picked Arizona. I like it.
Nice.
A lot of people were picking Utah, Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Jackson, I'll say it right now. I picked Kansas State to win the Big 12. I don't know about you. Who did you pick, Jackson?
Oh, you know who I went with. I went Kansas to win the Big 12, and I'm looking like an idiot for that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that to you, Jackson.
No.
One of the favorites.
It's okay, man. Like that's my fault. I just, it was like I put that as one of my top 10 surprise teams on the Voice of College Football, and it's like, oh crap. But I mean, I'm not gonna turn this into a sobbing session. This is about our predictions for Texas Tech, Arizona.
Yeah, poor Jackson. This is going to be a Kansas therapy session before it's over with. But in all seriousness, though, I think, Jackson, this game's going to come down to it's in the desert, and it's going to be a nighttime game. So, and we know, Jackson, the desert gets a little wonky at night. But Jerry Maguire is known to pull a big upset.
Oh,
Could this be the one?
I like how he called him Jerry Maguire. I like it. Like, even though he's Joey Maguire. That's pretty cool.
Oh, I said Jerry. Whoops.
Yep.
My bad. My
It's all
bad.
good.
My bad. Whoopsie. Oh my goodness. And Dave Lindsay says Arizona, Iowa State Big 12 championship. Mark it down. Ooh, okay. I like it,
Oh,
Dave.
that would be pretty
You with the
cool.
unconventional.
That would be pretty cool. I've got Arizona winning a tight one, 31-28.
Whoa, whoa, Jackson, whoa. You're
I
going
know.
fast, horse. Slow down.
I know, but it's like almost 2.
What? Well, Jackson, that's what we're here for. We're here to party all night. Oh my goodness. But in all seriousness, though, I think I'm gonna go Arizona. I think they won't get caught up, even though Joey McGuire has been known to pull off some upsets, like I've said multiple times. I'll go Arizona 37-29. I think it'll be a high scoring shootout in the desert. Jackson, overall, this is kind of a sloppy week. Not much to it, but
No.
who knows? Are the upsets incoming? Are they?
Yep.
Who knows, Jackson? Maybe Iowa pulls off a miracle. Or better yet, maybe Minnesota. Could they beat USC? Who knows, Jackson? Maybe Vandy upsets Alabama. Wouldn't that be a
Nice
shocker?
try. Not happening.
Who knows, Jackson? Even better. Even better. I got you one even better, Jackson. What if Auburn beats Georgia?
I don't think that's gonna happen either. Maybe Arkansas
Okay.
upsetting Tennessee. I would love to see it happen, but Arkansas will blow it like they always will. And then they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, Arkansas is the this 17 in all the college football." Like, yeah.
But but Jackson, if people want to hear you break down Alabama Vanderbilt, I know a place where they could go find it, and it'll be a great viewing experience along with you and your partner in crime. Because yes, you have multiples. I'm not the only Robin to your Batman. You also have another Robin. That's Mr. Johnny Burks. And where can they find you, Jackson? Let them know if they must hear you talk about Vanderbilt, Alabama. I don't know why they would, but where can they find it if they want to?
Well, I mean, if they're bored out of their mind, they want to hear about Alabama Vanderbilt. Of course, they could find me on the latest episode of Alabama at the Voice of College Football from earlier this week, where we talked a little bit about where Johnny Burks and I talked a little bit about the upcoming matchup against Vanderbilt this Saturday. And it's gonna be a wild one. Well, I mean, no, it's not gonna be a wild one. It's gonna be Alabama beating up on Vanderbilt. We had a lot of fun going over the takeaways from Alabama, Georgia. It was quite fun. We had some fun comparing Carson Beck to Steve Buscemi, and Carson Beck don't tip. Some of you will, a lot of you will get the reference, of course, but it was pretty fun, and I'm so grateful to be hosting Alabama at the Voice College Football. It's so much fun. And of course, Johnny and I and a friend of ours, one or two more friends, who knows, will be hosting the post-game show on Saturday, 15 minutes after the game ends, after we see the coaches gain the interviews from the lovely reporters and all of that. We're going to be going over the takeaways from Alabama Vanderbilt. So starting this Saturday, I will be, handling the post game show, with because like Zach Remulus has moved on over to Missouri at the Voice College Football. We don't know when Missouri Live will start, but I am looking forward to watching that, and I appreciate him for giving me the opportunity, let me be the post game host, and I appreciate Mark and TJ for let me be a part of the Alabama channel. I appreciate it so much. I'm eternally grateful, and I appreciate Austin for helping me get to where I'm going. I appreciate a lot of people that are they're looking back, watching this, helping me get to where I'm going. I appreciate the chat, all of you guys, and I appreciate you tuning in to what I'm saying on YouTube at Jats Johnson 979 at YouTube. I'm now 124 subs away from the magic number 500. Getting closer and closer every day. You can find me on Jats VOCFB, where I'm 72 followers away from 2,000 on X. You can find me on Instagram and Threads on Jats Johnson 543908. And next week, I will be having an episode of the Jacksonian with Leanne Herring from the Rebel Walk and Ole Miss at the Voice of College Football, the Ole Miss Live co-host, where we'll be going over quite a lot about the preview of Ole Miss LSU. And I won't give away too much, but it's going to be a wild ride. Austin, what have you got going on in your adventures this week?
Well, Jackson, first off, I'd like to say thank you, Jackson, for bringing me along with you. Be honest with you, Jackson, you're the best Batman I could ever ask for. But you're the Batman of this, Jackson. You make it go. So without you, I wouldn't be here. And without you, the audience, the good citizens of Gotham City, we wouldn't be here without you either. We haven't found our Joker yet. We'll get there soon. We'll get in the weeds of that later. But you can find me on Sports Talk with Austin 2002. Find me at Austin W1980 2639. If you want to follow my crazy takes on the Cowboys, on Louisville, I even dabble in baseball. I root for the Braves because of this guy, Jackson. I root for the Braves just because Jackson does. But as far as me having an actual team, not too much. I'll watch because it's the postseason, but I'm more of a football, basketball guy. And sometimes I'll get into the other sports, just depending on what they are. But that's where y'all could find me. And second of all, I'd like to thank you all for being here. Y'all have been here for almost 6 weeks with us, and we hope you continue all the way until the end. Because me and Jackson, we promise we're going to deliver you all the way to the promised land. Whether our teams win, lose, or draw, we'll be here. We'll be here till the national title is crowned. So if that means we have to stay up all night to deliver you these picks, we will. We prefer not to, but, it gets a little crazy. But we thank you all. We love you all. And if y'all could do us a quick little favor, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, click on our notification bells on both of our streams. Helps us both out. Gets Jackson closer to monetization on his channel. And I'm just trying to grow up the ranks. But that's where y'all can find me, and we appreciate you all. Even though week 6 looks a little sloppy, Jackson, upsets are coming. We'll have one or two. Kind of like Cal upsetting Miami is my big prediction of the week.
I guess Cal finally has hype.
Yes, Cal has hype. Oh, goodness. But thank you all for being here. But till then, we'll see you all Saturday after Miami Cal. Until then, go Cards, everybody. See you Saturday.